So this video is gonna be about those main protagonists in anime that are super strong, bordering on being overpowered, and they rarely lose or lost any of their battles. I will be describing some of the protagonists' abilities, but I will not go in depth with the plot of the anime because I do not want to give too much away about the anime. And I will be solely focusing on the anime, not the manga. That's just some information that I want you guys to know. So number 8 is Light Yagami. So he's the protagonist of Death Note. I think most of you guys should know about it because it is a big franchise by now all over the world. And we have the movie that I'm not looking forward to coming out later this year. So Light is in my top 5 favorite protagonists simply because he is different from the others. He is sharp, the most intelligent teen in his age group. He is always bored in his classes because he knows everything basically. He finds a book called the Death Note, which if any name is written inside will kill that person. He rarely lost any of his encounters and was usually always one step ahead. For those who haven't seen it, I recommend you watch it. I was always into action-oriented anime before I saw Death Note, but it opened me up to other types of anime. For example, the one I'm going to mention next. Number 7 is Lelouch, the protagonist of Code Geass, Lelouch the Rebellion. Some of his attributes are that he is basically in anime standards what you call a super genius. He obtained the Geass, which is the power that resides in the eyes. His was arguably the strongest compared to his foes. The anime also had mechs, and I think at that time I hadn't seen a good mech anime since Gundam and Eureka 7 or Eureka 7. If you haven't seen it, I think you should check it out. It is really a great show. It didn't get too much hype as Death Note, which I think is completely fine. Number 6 is Train Heartnet, the main protagonist of Black Cat. So his name is Black Cat because of the misfortune given by his name, as once he finds you, it means you're basically dead. He was an assassin for Kronos, an organization that pulls strings in the shadows. He became a sweeper after that and ended up going against what made him into the badass he is in the first place. So his abilities are that he is strong, adept in different weapons, especially guns, and he is inhumanly fast. This was one of the first anime I saw around the same time as Dragon Ball and Pokemon, although it is not as old like the next anime on the list. Number 5 is Adam Blade, the main protagonist of Needless. One of the great old anime, I usually call them gems. He is a priest or calls himself one, and he has inhuman strength, feral personality, which is kind of like Kenpachi if I'm not mistaken from Bleach. In this anime, people's abilities are called fragments, and Adam's fragment is called Zero. It gives him the ability to learn enemy attacks when he's been hit with them. I recommend that you watch it. It does take a while to get to the really awesome stuff, and it's got an interesting plot which most anime fans should enjoy. Number 4 is Meliodas. He is the main protagonist of Nanatsu no Taiza, and he's the dragon sin of wrath and the captain of the Nanatsu no Taizai, or the 7 deadly sins. Apart from being seemingly immortal, he is super strong on an inhuman level. He has the ability of full counter, which enables him to counter any weapon-based or projectile attack. He has good sword skills, and he has the enchantment Hellblaze. I really like this anime, but for some reason, I don't know why it's hated by some fans. I think Fairy Tail also faces the same issue. Anyways, it is a good binge. There's about like 25 episodes to enjoy, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. The third one on this list is Tanya Degurechaff, the protagonist of Youjo Senki, the saga of Tanya the Evil. Without spoiling too much, she was originally a man who died in an accident in 2013 in a subway. She was reborn as a girl during World War I in an alternate universe by being X, or you could call him God. She joined the army at 8 and has exceptional magical potential. She's sharp, has a contrasting personality, bloodthirsty, at the same time patriotic. This has to be one of the most must-see anime right now. It's a different take on anime that has mages. I've been watching it weekly and haven't been disappointed so far. Number 2 on this list is Shigeo Kageyama. He is the protagonist of Mob Psycho 100 and I think he's the most passive one on this list, but probably one of the strongest. He is so far in the Mob Psycho universe the strongest psychic or esper, and when he's emotionally triggered, he has limitless capabilities. Like the next anime in the list, I was seriously skeptical about watching this. The art style was different from what we're most accustomed to. I think it was even more extreme than the art style of One Piece. Number one is Saitama, and as we all know, he's the main protagonist of One Punch Man. He is the most powerful hero alive in the One Punch Man universe. He's too powerful that he's so bored most of the times. I think he's the only protagonist on this list that hasn't been injured by any of his enemies, and he has a ridiculous amount of limitless strength. I have to say, when I first started watching it, I was skeptical about it at first, but I was immediately obsessed with it after the first episode, so I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already. I chose Saitama as number one because he has never been injured in any of his battles in the anime. So that's it for my video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Like the video if you did, and comment on your thoughts and maybe who you would have included in the list. So this is Jay saying stay safe and see you in the next one.